start recording now.
Recording in progress.
And what is the time?
6:41. I'm going to call the meeting to order. If we can get roll call, or stand up for the Pledge of Allegiance first, please. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do roll call.
All right. Roll call. Lee Hicks.
Yes, here.
Christine Merrifield.
Here.
Charles Rogers.
Here.
Holly Gallier. Here.
And we have legal counsel and our consultant on Zoom. So Scott Nave is here and Pam Ernst. Okay, can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. The first item under 2 is going to be minutes of the regular board meeting, but this is mixed up, the dates. So this was actually a special meeting on 4/5 with Pam, and these minutes pertain to the meeting we had with Pam, not the regular board meeting. So I've read them, and that the 5th was on a Saturday, and that's when we met Pam. So I'm going to make a motion to approve those minutes.
Second.
All right, hang on a sec. Holly, did you find minutes?
Those were Pam's minutes for that Saturday the 5th, but my board meeting minutes I did not find. So I've got to do those because I thought I did them. So those are not on the... I'm sorry?
Yes. For item 2, you want to approve everything at once and not individually. So how about if we remove item 2B, since we don't have those minutes,
Okay.
and can approve 2A and 2C in one motion.
I will make a motion to pass those.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, action item number 3. Door hanger revision.
So, to have information on here, because there's no information if I go to hang this on there, on, you know, it's their delinquent bill, it doesn't have our information. It just shows water service to this premises will be discontinued unless payment is due, received in our office by. And so here, it would have information in the breakdown of the fees.
So you want to reprint them?
Right, and then also phone numbers and also like the, all paid, their information, just have all of it.
Okay.
Or we can have, when we get the online billing, we can put that there. So
Okay.
then they'll be able to pay anyways.
Can we put the QR code on there as
Mhm.
well? All right, I'm going to make a motion that we reprint the door hangers. Can I have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Purchase of signs for the wastewater and well yards.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I was muted, but Holly, you're asking them for approval to spend money on the new.
Yeah, do you want me to
Yes.
ask the public if they have any comments?
Yeah, so you need to ask the public, but you also need to approve the cost to print that. Maybe you talked about it and I just didn't hear it.
No, we didn't.
Holly, is that on the,
I think I put it on mine, for mine.
it's not on the quote, right?
Yeah.
It still has to be approved. So I don't have, wait a minute.
No, you don't have it.
No, I don't. I only have the other ones.
Yeah. So we're gonna have to table it because I don't have it either.
You don't have what?
She
The
doesn't
amount
have
that
the
I was that they're asking to revise the delinquent water bill notice.
On my agenda, I have it. Scott, do you have it on yours?
You have the old agenda, but Pam, what is that number?
Okay, so the cost will be $140 for 1,000,
Okay.
and they'll print 200 image. It says for 2206 or 500 for 38.39, and then the artwork is $10.
Pam, it was 140 for $1,000.
No. 140 for 1,000 printed,
1,000 printed.
and that's with the color paper, and then we can have them what they call artwork or whatever, $10, and then we can print 200 for the 40, whatever she's saying.
Pam, will you give me those numbers again, please?
$140 for 1,000. 2206 for imaging, or 50 or 500 it says for 38.39, and then the artwork is $10.
How many do you need?
200.
For
And-
2206.
For the, you're talking about the door hanger, right?
It says they will print 200
For 2206, yes.
Correct.
But I have to buy 1,000 colored papers because they don't have, that's
They
as
don't
low as
have
we
the
go.
red.
Mhm.
So in addition, you need money, which is just office supplies, so we don't need to approve that. Scott, does the board need to approve the red paper? Isn't it just considered office supplies?
Yeah, we're gonna talk about that later in the agenda.
Okay,
Okay, but I think the board is misunderstanding. I believe, Holly, it's $140 for 1,000, correct?
That is correct.
And you have to buy at least 1,000 pieces of cardstock.
Right, that's included in the 140. So I'm paying the 140 for 1,000 cardstock, and then
Correct.
the 2206
06.
is
They
for
have-
200 printed,
Correct. And
unless
then
I want the 500.
if you want 500, it's 38.39, which is more economical. If
Oh,
you
I
were to
see.
go with 500,
Mhm.
and there's a $10 art cost.
Yes.
Okay.
So if you went with 38.39 plus $10 for art plus 140 for the cardstock, you're looking at 188.39.
I'm gonna make a motion.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay. Purchase of master locks.
Okay, my agenda is different.
Okay, so are we talking about this, Holly?
Pam, you have
Yeah.
the old agenda, you do not
Okay.
have that was posted.
So let's briefly just go over this real quick.
If I may, you got, where you were master locks, just before that, you got purchase of signs for wastewater plant. and all.
That's what I have.
Yep, you're right,
But that-
you are correct.
The one that was put, Holly, did you give them the agenda that was posted?
Yes.
Yes, it is, I have it, Scott, I just went right over it. Okay, so B, purchase of signs for wastewater plant and well yard.
Mhm. And you have the quote in front of you for $702.59.
And 59 cents. And I am,
And that is for, what was it, 12 signs.
okay, and
Okay,
these are
wait
the
a
ones
minute.
to keep everybody out.
Pam, I just sent you the correct agenda so that you can follow.
Thank you.
No, that's the laws.
Oh.
This is the
yeah.
locksmith.
So this one
So,
it was two
I
something.
gave
It's
the quote to you though.
$214.33
Yeah.
for 12 of them.
Yes, sorry,
214.33
yeah,
for 12 locks, right?
Yep.
no.
Or no,
12
12,
Yeah.
12 signs.
12 signs. God dang it.
We'll get it right
It's right
sooner
here.
or later.
Okay. Oh boy. Okay.
Well, it's just supposed to be my notes.
I know, but one is for the signs and the other
That's
is
for
the
the
decals.
signs, and then you have that right there is for the locks.
So,
This
The
is
one
for
in
the
your hand,
locks.
yes.
This is for the decals, and this is for the.
yeah, this is
Thank you. Thank you. Now I have it all in front of me. Okay, so we need to approve the signs for the well yard, both of them, the wastewater plant. We need to approve the money for the truck decals, and this thing that you're looking at is because Director Reynolds put the lock on incorrectly, and we were unable to get into the sewer facility. So we needed to call a locksmith out and able to get in so that we could change the locks, correct? Nope.
Nope.
I don't think I have the right agenda still.
No, it's not right. This
1, 2, 3.
This is for the locks. This is the quote for the master locks being all key to light for lockouts and for our gates
Oh.
and for the wastewater yard. That's
Okay.
what this is. Then these are the
Truck decals
truck decals,
and signs.
and this is for the signs.
Okay. How do you want to do it in? So we're gonna
So
do.
item 3B, purchase of signs for wastewater plant and well yards.
Okay,
is
I'm gonna
what
make a
we should be
motion that we
doing.
pass that we allow that to be purchased because it's needed. So I'm gonna make a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Public comment.
Does the public have any comments about this? No. So we're good. We have 3. The purchase of the master locks, and this is so everything is keyed to one
And a
master
light,
key.
exactly.
Okay, and this is the amount right here, Ollie.
Correct.
So.
And that is from
Hodge.
the lock
Oh, the lock people.
people.
Yeah. So we have a estimate for $702.59 to key everything to one key because Holly's got a big huge box in there of about 300 keys.
It's
50.
50
This is
keys
50 keys,
and locks, or
50 keys and locks,
no, it's for 50 locks with one key,
one key. Okay.
probably 2.
All right. So does the public have any questions?
Are these existing locks that you're gonna have them rekeyed?
No, these are
These
new
brand
locks
new- Okay,
Yeah.
that's
that are all going to be key to
Yes.
light.
good.
Yes.
Anybody have anything else? No. So I'm gonna make the motion to accept this bid.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Now we've got D, this is adopted administrative charges of $50 for construction water. I'm all for this, and let me explain why. Because if we don't have an operator, and Holly has to stop what she's doing to go out to sell construction water at the hydrant and put the meter on, she's out of the office. Which means she's not doing what we need her to do here. And then she's gotta take it, go back, get it off, fill them up, bring it back here. If they need it again, go back out. There has to be a surcharge. You can't keep taking Holly out of the office.
So let me just say that last month, the board approved a schedule of miscellaneous fees and charges. So the board should have a resolution tonight amending that schedule of fee and charges.
Did you
to
write
add
that up?
this administrative fee of $50. So this is an administrative fee, this is not the fee for the water, which is a metered rate.
So 2512 is the one that changed it, Scott, the resolution. 2512, a resolution of
you're
the
right,
Board of
11
Directors
or
amending
12.
its schedule of miscellaneous fees
Yeah,
and charges.
that's what it is.
And the $50 is on here, right, Scott?
It's in the resolution.
It's right here.
Okay. So,
You have it? Okay.
does the public have any questions about this resolution? The board? Okay.
So this is for construction trucks when they come and pick up water from
Construction or bulk, yes.
$50 per.
Yeah,
each
so
time.
every time she's gotta go out and hook that meter up so they can buy water, whether it's bulk or construction, then there's a $50 upcharge, a surcharge.
If there's a yard fee also, for a cubic yard of water.
We do, we
Yeah.
have, she charges $20 and 12
And then
cents.
$50
Right,
to hook up the meter every time.
right, we have all that. We just didn't have to charge for every time she had to go out there to do it.
But then they make you come out 10 times.
They could make her, yeah,
Yeah.
that's why I wanna put a charge on it. So, I'm going to make a motion to pass resolution 2512.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And you tell me, was that item 3? E?
D.
It was D.
D, Pam.
Okay, I don't have the right.
Action item
agenda,
D.
so, go ahead.
The one that I just emailed to you is the right agenda. If you look at the bottom of page 1, you'll see D, adopt administrative charge of $50 for construction water.
Okay, that's not the one that I got. Alright, let me open this one here.
Does it show up
Okay.
as another?
It's E
Oh, it's on the bottom, it's on the
Yeah,
bottom of
I
the
have
first
D.
page.
You have E.
Yeah, E on mine.
Okay,
No, I have D.
See, the $50 surcharge.
So now we're on E, pest
they get a
control
different one?
quote.
I bet I put in the wrong one. It's.
I have no idea why yours is different, but it's supposed to be.
Let me see it.
It is E on his.
So I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah. Oh, it's E.
Yeah.
Not E. Sorry.
It's okay. I just wanted to let you guys know. This is
Slacking
where I got
girl.
this one.
Okay.
I quit.
So
Oh.
we have passed this one. Pest control quote. That one's big. So, as you know, the office up at the sewer plant needs to be cleaned up, and we have a pest control problem, a big one.
Rats?
Yes. Holly's got an estimate. I'm assuming you and Pam went over this.
For the estimate? Yes.
and my suggestion was that at best, we just have it exterminated. We can get someone else
To come in.
to clean it, or even table the item for a month or two.
Can I ask what the quote was?
It's right there at the bottom.
I don't see it in mine.
With my experience with rats in this community, we found it best, my colleague and myself, and some other neighbors, found it best to just launch the poison cubes that the rats eat and die off. I think that would be way less
I
expensive.
think there's a bigger problem than that. So,
I don't know. We contended with a lot of rodents in one. They came in mass.
there,
So
there are
we
boxes.
have birds that go out in the wastewater, and if they
Gotcha.
Okay.
get
Gotcha.
All right,
poison, it's going to kill the birds.
I withdraw.
Right. And in
And
addition,
there's
Yes, Steve?
also a mezzanine in that building.
They, like at Tractor Supply, they have these little boxes that you put those cubes in. The rats go in and eat it, and they go out, and the birds do stuff to it, go in
But
may.
if they die, but if they die out and the birds come and eat it, then they ingest the poison.
Or cats or whatever, any animal. Pam, what did you have to say about the
There's a
mezzanine?
mezzanine in that building that
Yes.
has some very old paperwork in it
Yes,
from 1960s. I believe it was through the early 90s, and the 60s was when it was county. That has it's been infestated by the rats. So my suggestion would be to, nobody's looked at it for how many years, either burn it, bury it, take it to the dump, do something with it, but that needs to be cleaned out
you're talking
because
about
it's
all
just
the
been
boxes,
infested with rats.
all the boxes that are up in the rafters on the left.
That's correct.
What was that quote, 7,000 what?
Pam,
320.
do you and Holly feel that this is necessary right now to spend this amount of money? Because I'm a little hesitant.
I think at best, if we have someone go in and just exterminate and not do any of the cleaning or anything, but I'm not certain how much that portion was, just to get rid of the rat infestation.
It was
$3,000.
$3,285.
And the total quote was for 7,000,
Yeah,
$7,320.
that's if you add up everything.
and that was to have them come out monthly too, correct?
That is correct.
For
And the
1 year.
startup,
And I don't believe we need that.
no.
You know, they might need to come out every quarter or something, but anyway, if you wanna table it and think about it, bring it up next month.
Okay, I'm gonna make a motion to table it. And we can discuss this next month.
Okay, so item 3E is tabled.
There's a gentleman has a question about the matter.
I do know somebody that works for the extermination company right now, and that might be willing to do, for a lot cheaper than us, so that might be something to think about.
Okay. You can, after the meeting or, sometime next week, if you wanna come in, we can talk about it.
What is involved in the cleaning? Let's get rid of all the debris.
That, and then the disinfecting and all of the
Clutter,
dust.
I can remove that. I mean, I was out there 3 hours today, and I'll get a little every day, 1 truckload every morning.
Okay.
And give me another week or 2, and it'll be empty. I just need bags. Yeah,
Yeah.
bags.
And masks.
And mask, I was just gonna say that.
And gloves. And disinfecting.
Yeah, I mean, we might need a company to do the disinfecting
Yeah.
part, but I'll do all removal of the debris. If it can save the company $2,000.
Yeah, because if he has to just come in and clean up the disinfecting work, he does it already on a daily with the extermination company insurance.
No one have made
Yeah.
trash run in 2 years. It
Been in
seems like
talking.
there's like oil drums full of this trash and could have been taken to the dump a year ago.
Right.
I cleaned for 4 hours today, so it's getting there.
So it's tabled for now.
It's tabled, we'll discuss it, next month, and we might have a very different outcome according to Mark. Approval authority, so our next item is F, which is the approval authority of the general manager.
So, I kind of put this on here, and the reason why is, the next item is approval of the finance and investment policy. So what I think that the board needs to think about and put in the finance policy is the GM's spending authority. What can she spend money on without prior board approval, and what are the caps on the amount she can spend? So, this is here for the board to discuss with Holly, and then if the board is able to reach some consensus, then for the next item, which is the resolution adopting the finance and investment policy, we'll just change that policy to include whatever the board decides on, and you can codify it tonight, and then Holly will know how much she can or cannot spend. So, in my experience, let me just lay out kind of how I view this, and then you can do what you want. Generally, executives will have a cap on their spending, a hard cap, or whatever it is. And the board can set that cap. The exceptions would be standard and customary charges like utility bills or ongoing subscription agreements such as, say, Eldorado, or bank fees or things like that. And the GM can just pay those, right? Because every month they come in.
Right. We approved that.
Now, pardon?
We approved that last month, didn't we? For her to pay the bills, just to be able to pay the monthly bills.
So I didn't see that in my notes.
I remember we did for
I thought
bill
we did
paying,
too.
allotted her to the
Pay the monthly bills. Because
Yeah.
Edison comes in every month. Some of our insurance, all that stuff, payroll, all that is monthly. I thought we did.
So we don't have a resolution or policy from last month that says that.
Can you write me a resolution to give her the ability to pay the regular monthly bills that come into the district so that that can happen? So we don't get behind.
And I or did I?
No, can you? Can you write
It's
me a
the next
resolution?
item on the agenda.
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about it.
I thought we already did it though.
No, you tabled it last month. Lee wanted more time, or someone wanted more time to review the finance and investment policy. So
no,
it
that was
tabled.
that was the charges, Scott, that was the charges, for service work, the call outs, water
For the
on, water
public.
off fees.
For the public,
So
that wasn't
someone
for Holly.
did, because in my notes it says it's tabled, and in the recording it doesn't show a vote.
I don't remember unless it was LV.
So unless Holly has it written down somewhere, and I missed that whole discussion.
I thought we were waiting for a resolution.
You have the minutes from last month?
No, Holly can't find them there. She had them done. But,
Okay. Okay.
But
I'm pretty sure.
I've written in my notes that it was tabled.
Okay.
I didn't do the minutes on Monday, tomorrow. I don't remember.
Okay. So we need to approve a resolution adopting the finance and investment policies.
Yeah, so last month, my notes showed that you unanimously approved the schedule of fees and charges.
Correct?
The volunteers to clean up the sewer yard was information only, and then the investment policy was tabled. That's what my notes have.
Okay.
Okay.
If that was from the last meeting, I don't remember it because I wasn't here.
Oh, that's right. You had surgery.
Yep.
Lee wasn't here. He couldn't have tabled it.
So maybe that's why it was tabled, is because Lee wasn't there.
Okay. I've read through this and I want to give the general manager the authority to pay the monthly bills because these are regular monthly bills that come in every single month, whether it's Edison, SDRMA, CSDA.com, whatever it is. She needs to be able to pay it, and we need to not have a late charge. It's dumb to have late fees when they're monthly bills. As far as the cap on what Holly can spend, what the general manager can spend. So just so you guys know, if something were to go wrong with that generator, Holly needs to have the authority and the ability to get parts for it, have it worked on. Say that something goes down with one of the booster pumps or the SCADA system or the truck. Something happens with the truck and she's got to get it fixed because Martin can't go out and do his job without the truck. She has to have the ability to be able to fix that without calling a special meeting or an emergency meeting. She needs, so we can sign a check. And I think Holly's responsible enough to, and she understands the district's position.
To know where
that
to
she
cut it
will
off.
be but she will be responsible in her spending. So I would like to give her a $1,200 cap for emergencies. Pam, do you think that 1,200 works, or do you think it should be 1,000? Pam,
Is that monthly?
just for emergencies. She has her,
Okay, I think Scott needs to clarify here because I believe what you're talking about, Scott, is incidentals that she will need beyond the monthly billing. If it's an emergency because the generator's broke down or the well's leaking or she's got to get a service man in here, she's going to call an emergency meeting and have you guys decide what you're going to do, how you're going to handle it. Am I correct, Scott?
So we're talking about emergencies now, we're not talking about spending in the regular course of business. So for emergencies, you can give the GM whatever authority you think is appropriate. The GM can spend up to that amount, but anything in addition to that would have to be approved by the board. You'd have to have a special board meeting.
right,
So if you say Holly can spend up to $1,200 to fix the generator or the truck or the well or whatever it might be, that's fine. That's within your discretion, and we'll put that in the policy. But once it reaches 1,201, then we have to call a board meeting and have you come in and approve the additional expenses. And that's for emergencies. That's not ordinary course of business
right,
expenses.
which if it's something that drastic, you know, the hydropneumatic tank or the generator or whatever, I'm assuming we would be calling a special meeting anyway, yes?
Yeah, I'm sure you would too, but if something,
But
you
if
have to
it's
do
something that
right
Holly can,
away, she should have some authority.
yes. If it's something that where we gotta go put boiler notices out, we'd all be here anyway. But if it's something that Holly can fix, that doesn't affect the day-to-day operation, or, you know, of us getting water or flushing our toilets, but it has to be fixed within, you know, an hour or two, or a day, otherwise we will have a problem. I think she should have the authority to fix it. Pam?
I think if it's an emergency, absolutely she should. We should probably cap it at about 2,000. But if it's for incidentals, say she wanted to buy those signs, say she wanted to buy the locks, I think you guys should allow her to buy those things that she needs to operate the district on a monthly basis. Those signs need to be on your yard. So if it's an emergency, I think up to 2,000. And I think for incidentals, she should probably be able to spend 1,000.
I actually agree with that. Thank you, Pam.
I concur.
I'm gonna make a motion that the general manager in an emergency can spend up to $2,000. Oh, public comments?
We're gonna do this next item. You're just talking about this now, and then the resolution approving the finance and investment policy is where we're gonna put
Oh, am I ahead of myself? Am I
it.
rushing?
A little bit, one item, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is all for discussion.
Yeah, you need to have public comment or
Public
discussion.
comments on this? Anybody? No. No public comments? Scott, you want me to make the motion now?
So now you're on item G. Item F is information only. Item G, approval of resolution adopting a finance and investment policy. So you all should have, there's a
2511.
resolution, and you should have the finance and investment policy, and the authority that the board just gave, which is the GM can pay regular and customary bills, such as utilities and subscriptions, has a cap on incidental expenses of $1,000. And if I heard correctly, has a cap of 1,200 for emergency situations.
2,000. 2,000.
2,000.
2,000.
So that will all be put into this finance policy and finalized.
Okay,
You can
so
approve
we
this
cannot
tonight.
pass 2511 until you amend it, correct? So we're just discussing
You
it.
have just amended it. Right
verbally.
You're telling us, make these changes.
Right.
You can approve it tonight with these changes, and I'll send Holly a clean copy tomorrow.
Okay. So, 2511 is a resolution for the Board of Directors of the Kern Community Service District adopting a finance and investment policy. So what we just spoke about and everything contained here in this resolution, the amendments for our general manager to spend $2,000 in an emergency situation and $1,000 on incidentals will be adopted if we pass
All right,
this.
so now let's walk through this finance policy real quick, because this is important for everyone to understand,
Yes.
okay? The investment policy, look, when you're ready to put money into investments, we can walk through the investment policy because it's highly regulated in California.
Right.
You need to understand the finance policy because this has a day-to-day impact on Holly, on the GM, and what the GM can or cannot do.
Right.
So the policy starts out with the purpose and scope and then provides the legal and regulatory framework. There are a number of laws that you are subject to in how you handle
Money.
your public funds. And misuse of public funds is a serious crime in the state of California. So we want to make sure we're doing it right. We want to make sure we're following the law.
Right.
So one of the things you have to do is you have to do an annual budget. And that's in section 1.4.
Right, and
So
that's
this
gonna
talks
be by
about
July
doing an
1st, right?
annual budget before July 1 of each year.
Okay.
Okay? It refers to the government code provision, and GAAP is just an accounting method. GAAP is a general accounting method for government agencies.
Right.
You're required to comply with that. And what I will say about that is the auditors know what that is. So
Okay.
the auditors will make sure you comply with GAAP.
And we are supposed to have an audit annually, correct?
What's that?
We are supposed to have an audit annually.
Yeah, we're gonna get to that. That's in this policy. So you have your budget, the budget has to be balanced, and you have to approve, the budget by resolution by July 1 of each year.
Right.
And then most agencies will do a mid-year review in January to make sure that, to see if there needs to be any adjustments to the budget, okay? So, then you get into 1.4.2, budgetary controls. There is a law that your expenses can't exceed your revenue, and there's lots of exceptions to that, and you have to do an appropriations amount every year, which I'll work with Holly on. So budgetary controls, the GM may transfer funds between line items in your budget, but if it's between different accounts, like from sewer to water,
She cannot.
then that requires board approval. So when you have a line item budget, you might have under water several items that you want to work on. You know, items in the yard, maybe doing improvements to the water system, maybe doing something with one of the wells. That falls all under the water, right? The water account. The GM can move funds around within the water, but the GM couldn't take that money under the water account and move it to the sewer unless the board approves it. So that's one of the principles here in 1.4.2.
Okay, so let me ask a quick question.
Yeah.
What about commingling money then?
What's that?
Isn't that commingling money?
No.
So for you guys, because you have water, sewer, and street lights, I mean, honestly, hydrants are part of water, so I just lump it in together. You've got water, sewer, and street lights, and for each of those, you have an administrative portion, right? And that just all goes into your general fund. Now, you might set aside a capital improvements account for water, sewer, and street lights, and that's totally fine. But you'll have overlap between all your accounts because you've got insurance, right? You've got Holly's salary, you've got legal expenses, you've got accounting expenses, right? And that goes across the entire district. So, you're not commingling in that sense, in the legal sense, right? But what you wanna do, why we track it that way, is to make sure that the fee that you charge is reasonably related to the cost of that service. Alright, so that's just a principle of your budgeting and your rate setting, and we take all that into consideration when we figure out what that is.
Okay.
But if you're in the water account and Holly moves it from, meters to repairing a pipeline, that's not commingling.
Okay, but you can't move water money to sewer.
So it depends, if the board has set aside money for capital improvements for sewer, Holly could not move it to water unless the board approved it.
Okay. So if it's been allocated specifically for sewer, then she cannot move it without board approval.
Correct.
Okay.
She could not move it to water.
Okay.
Alright, so you use the accrual accounting method, which again, that's an audit thing, so you don't have to worry about that. You have to prepare annual financial transaction reports with the state controller's office. And then 1.5.3, you get to the audits, right? And there's your requirement to complete an audit under the government code.
Right.
1.6 is important for you guys because these are internal controls. So let's talk through this. Internal controls are just systems you set up to prevent, theft, fraud, waste. All right. These internal controls should prevent stuff like embezzlement. Right. So what are some of the controls? Segregation of duties. So you want, if possible, more than one person on each transaction. Now, you've got one employee, so that's hard to do.
Right.
As a practical matter, that's hard to do.
Right.
Which is why something that you guys do, and Holly and I talked about this today, is every month you approve every transaction, every expense of the district.
Right.
And that's your check register.
Right.
And now that you guys, hey, give a big round of applause to Holly, she got QuickBooks set up, and so now she's gonna be able to print out QuickBook reports every month, including a check register.
Right.
We've also figured out how to get checks to print off QuickBooks using the district printer.
You're amazing.
So all that is great, and starting next month, we should have a comprehensive check register for the board to approve under the consent agenda, or you can move it to a regular agenda item if you wanna talk about it.
Okay.
So dual authorization, checks over $1,000 require 2 signatures. That's a recommendation, you can change that amount if you want, that's just a recommendation.
The
You might
board-
make it $500.
But the board's always done 2 signatures on all checks anyway.
But remember, you're authorizing Holly to pay regular and customary expenses such as utility bills,
Right.
incidentals up to 1,000, and then emergencies, and she can do that on her own.
Pam,
What?
are any of the Edison bills over $1,000?
Yes.
What are, how much, we're talking about the well yard or the sewer plant, which one?
The well yard 3.
Okay, how much does well yard 3 cost monthly?
I think it's averaging around $1,400-$1,500 a month, depending on the month.
It should be on your,
You've authorized Holly to pay the utilities, that even though it's over 1,000.
Oh,
It
you know
doesn't
it
matter,
is.
then if we've
Yeah,
given
it
her,
doesn't matter, she can pay it anyway, it's gotta be
Like
paid to avoid
$1,400.
late charges.
okay, that's what I was worried about, as long as she has the authority to pay even all the monthly bills, even though the Edison bill is $1,400. Yes,
Yes.
thank you.
Unless you guys wanna put a cap and say, hey, no, we wanna look at a $3,000 bill, or we wanna look at a $5,000 bill before it's paid.
That's
Yes.
true too, you can put that type of cap on if you want.
Yeah, I do. If the bill is more than $2,000, I wanna know about it before she pays it.
So the regular and customary bills, such as utilities, it's up to 2,000 per.
Yep.
per utility, it's not 2,000 per,
No, because
water,
we have
sewer,
four,
utility.
we have 4 Edison bills. So
There's just only one.
there's
that's-
only one that's really high. The other ones
Okay.
aren't as high. So if that one goes over 2,000, I want to know, because obviously there's a problem, and not just with, there's not a problem with Holly. Obviously, there's a problem with that well yard. So we should be apprised of that one way or another.
Yeah. So the $1,000 requiring 2 signatures, you wanna modify that as it relates to the authority that you gave to the GM tonight with spending. So
So
this
that-
will be checks over $2,000 for regular and customary bills, over 1,000 for incidentals, over 2,000 for emergencies, will require at least 2 signatures on the check.
Correct.
And it probably makes sense for Holly, when she's paying these bills, to just shoot an email to the treasurer saying, hey, I'm paying this today, or the president, or whomever, just saying I'm paying this today, it's our, regular CRWA fee, or whatever it might
Knock
be.
them all out in one day, put it in one email and shoot it off, okay? Do not bother me every time you.
I don't know that they have a treasurer because I believe Tom Thompson was the treasurer.
Correct, we
And
do not
he
have a,
resigned, so I don't believe the board ever filled that position.
no,
or
but we did talk about,
assigned someone to that.
Pam, didn't we talk about the treasurer being the general manager because they handle the money?
Well, to me, that's how it was when I was there, and it was logical. But you guys can have it however you want. You can have a board member be a treasurer. You can have a board member be a secretary, and Holly be a treasurer. It's however you guys feel it's appropriate that the board operates.
I thought you made me treasurer last month.
I did. You are
You
correct.
Yeah,
Okay.
last month it just keeps
Okay.
putting stuff on me.
Okay,
Get a bug Christie, is what you gotta do, since she's the president.
okay, so you're
So-
treasurer and secretary, Holly.
She's secretary of the district,
Okay.
she's general manager, and she's treasurer. Holly,
Okay.
when you pay all the bills in one shot,
I'll email myself.
can you email yourself and then forward that
That's
to
why.
me?
That's why I did that.
Just forward that to me, so I know that you emailed yourself.
Okay.
All
Alright,
right.
so monthly bank reconciliations. The general idea here is you want 2 people looking at your bank statements. So the one who's making the payments is not the one who does the reconciliation. Now, as a practical matter, that is, right, you have one employee, so how do you set that up?
If
Well,
she could put that in my packet, and I could do that every month before the meeting.
yeah, and that should be a way to protect that against that, is to have those documents presented to the board as part of the board packet every month.
Right,
It's all public records anyway.
right,
If there's any customer information on there, you can redact that information.
right.
But otherwise, it's all public record. And so then everyone on the board has an opportunity to review it and ask any questions if they have some. And the public as well, not just the board members.
Okay.
And when I was there, I would reconcile everything and include it in the board's packet. And they had a breakdown of every item that was expended, every bit of income, it was all reconciled for the board to look at each board meeting.
And that's great, that's the way it should be.
Yeah.
So, the last thing there on the internal control is expense reimbursements. From time to time, employees incur expenses and employers are required to reimburse them for those expenses. There should be an expense reimbursement form, and any expenses that are on that form should have the receipts. And then that form would go to the board each month for approval, and then the expenses would be reimbursed by the district.
But God, not out of petty cash.
And we used to have petty cash, and I know you guys have petty cash now, but I thought you guys were gonna be getting away from that.
I would like to.
But Holly has a debit card, and Holly should be able to get incidentals on that debit card. And if an employee stays out of town and needs to be reimbursed for something, Holly can write them a check, or they could even take that debit card if they're so authorized to use it. But Holly can, they can bring their receipts back, and Holly can just cut one check for whatever it may be, and the board approves it.
Yes, I
So
agree with that.
I really don't see a need for petty cash anymore.
Me neither. I agree.
So then moving down, we have the reserve policy, a general fund reserve, capital replacement, and then an emergency reserve. I know you guys are working really hard to start putting those together. And, you know, with your capital replacement or your capital reserve, right, you should break that down into water, sewer, because it's included in both rates. There's an amount included in both rates.
Well, it says
for capital
general
reserve
fund.
account.
So it just says general fund, so we need to break it down into 2 or into 3. So you have
So
water,
you have-
sewer,
there-
and streetlights.
Right, so your general fund reserve is just for your operational payroll, normal expenses.
For the
Your
office.
and that you can just keep that as general. Your capital, you should have water, sewer, and then I guess do you have capital costs for the streetlights?
No, we do not.
Okay, so it's just water and sewer,
Okay.
right? So you should have, you know, reserve accounts for those two. Now again, this can be accounting, you know, in the cloud. I'm not talking you have to go to the bank and get 5 different accounts, but you should be able to account for your sewer reserve and your water reserve.
They can have it as a different line item on their budget, and when that money is broke down, it goes into that specific line item, and it is not to be used for anything other than what that line item is designated. You have to have a chart of accounts, and the chart of accounts that the district has now is broken. So
Yep.
I've got to go through QuickBooks and try to figure out a chart of accounts again and get rid of all that nastiness and then start all over.
Pam, at that point, will you be able
Pardon?
to, at that point, once you go in and do that, will you be able to separate or add the line items in for sewer and water so that
There will be,
at some point when we have money, we can do that?
in your chart of accounts, you will have a line item for each one of those. You can always add to your chart of accounts, but you will have a breakdown. You got to have it anyway for your budget report to the state. And hopefully, the district will start having money to be able to put into capital improvements. I mean, that's what your ultimate goal is, correct?
Yes.
You want to be self-sustainable.
Yep.
End of story.
Stand on our own 2 feet. Or 800 and something feet. Whatever it is. Okay. Are we at 264, Scott?
1.8, debt management. So you went through your reserves, which were 1.7. Right, 1.7.2 capital reserve, 1.7.3 emergency. Your goal for your emergency is 10%, but you guys have a ways to go.
Wait,
before
I'm
you
missing
get
a
there.
sheet. Why did you do this to me? On purpose?
You know what? I guess. Are they missing a sheet? Because I printed out everything.
Our printer is not doing well, so I have 1.7.2, and then I go to the top where it says guaranteed by the U.S. government, maximum maturity 5 years, 2.6.4.
Yeah. So
I'm a little
you're
confused.
You're missing a couple pages there, so let
Yeah,
me
you
just
are.
walk through it.
Wait, how can I walk through it when I don't know what I'm walking through?
Sorry. Sorry.
Do you have yours?
No, I don't. It didn't print it.
I'll write fast. What is the
Alright.
number?
So you have your debt management,
173,
1.8.1.
1.7.
1.7.3 is your emergency reserve, 1.8 is your debt management.
Hang on, that one was missing, so I'm writing it down real quick.
It's on the computer. Even
Okay.
if it didn't print
The next
out,
one,
it's on
the next
computer.
one that
So-
we're on,
So,
1.7.
oh, yeah. You want to see if I can share it?
Yeah.
Let me. Just 1 second. I'm not really good at sharing.
Yeah, we've noticed.
My teachers wrote that in all my report cards, but let me see.
Can you at least tell me the number we're on? So I can
Alright,
follow.
so do you see it now on the screen?
Yes.
Okay, so we're on 1.8, debt management. Okay? So there is a statute that deals with debt management issues, and you should not be issuing debt for operational expenses. Right? This, if you're gonna issue debt, it will be for like capital improvements and capital purchases, things like that. There is a general debt reserve coverage ratio of 1.25 times your annual debt service payments.
Wait.
This is really not an issue for you guys at this point in time. You're not issuing bonds, you're not doing commercial debt, so you don't have to worry about that. And then the total debt payments as opposed to total revenue, your goal is you don't want it to exceed 15%. Right? You're probably not there right now as you guys turn this around, but the goal is to get so that your annual debt payment is less than 15% of total revenue. Moving on to 1.9, transparency and public access. Your budget, audits, and financial reports need to be on the district's website. And then you have the Public Records Act and Brown Act that you have to comply with.
Correct.
You are required by law to review your investment policy annually. So we have this policy review and amendments that will call for an annual review.
Okay.
So then we get to Title II investments, and as I said before, there are a number of laws that address the type of investments that districts can make, and this lays out what those investments are: CDs, the local agency investment fund, treasury bills, treasury bonds, money market funds, municipal bonds. There are certain investments you're not allowed to make. You guys aren't here yet, so I'm not going to go through this
I was
line
gonna
by
say,
line
with
because
what money?
it's not really an issue for you,
Correct.
but hopefully it will be.
Yeah. So we
A
go
year
through
or
it
two.
then.
It'd be great if you could put your capital reserve accounts into LAIF or some other, semi-liquid investment so that you can earn some interest on them. So this financial and investment policy, we're gonna add the general manager's authority to that. And if you are all in agreement on that, then we will go ahead and you can approve the resolution adopting the finance and investment policy, and then you'll be one step closer to full legal compliance.
Okay, well, does the public have any questions? Nope.
Agenda or off the agenda?
Regarding resolution number 2511. Board, make a motion to pass resolution 2511.
Second.
Okay. All in favor? Aye. Resolution 2511 has passed.
Alright, I'm gonna talk about H as well. So I apologize, but we don't have action on this item for you tonight. This is putting the delinquent lots on the tax roll. There's a procedure you have to follow when you do this. And so what we're gonna do is next month we're gonna bring you a policy on the steps and the procedures for placing delinquent lots on the tax roll. You are statutorily authorized to do that. You do have to give notice to the owners, and then you do have to have a public hearing at a board meeting in order to approve it. So, again, my apologies, I didn't have this ready for tonight, but I will have this ready for the next board meeting.
Scott, can I ask a question?
Yeah?
Delinquent lots and inactive, can you expound on that?
So, great, so this is going to be something the board's gonna have to decide. And that is, at what point in time do you wanna put the lots on the tax roll? So with water service, like, generally, I don't see water agencies putting unpaid water bills on the tax roll unless the lot is vacant or abandoned, right? And that's because your goal is to provide water service to your customers. And so, when you follow.
Wait. Holly hates you.
Listen, I plugged it in. Oh, good heck.
Nobody say a word until we get the attorney back.
Dun, dun, dun.
Did you shut it off?
No, I plugged it in and then it sure went out.
Are we? Do you have power? I'll call. Wait.
Hello?
Hello, sorry, the laptop died.
Oh, that's not good.
No, and it died right when I plugged it in.
Alright, so you're gonna rejoin the meeting?
She's trying,
trying.
but the power's out
On the laptop or in the community?
on the laptop. I got you on speakerphone because the power went out on the laptop.
She's got it
Can you hear
starting
me?
up now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Pam. Damn it. Scott, can you still hear Pam?
Yeah.
Pam, can you hear everything that's going on?
Yeah.
Okay. The power went out on the computer. Hang on.
Yeah, as soon as you plug it in, it should boot up pretty quickly.
It's trying.
You have to tell Holly to be nicer to that computer.
Well, she was actually cutting you off. You were the one talking. I don't think she had it out for the computer.
Well, look, she hangs up on me all the time.
Oh,
so
well.
I'm used to that.
Oh, this computer's a little slow.
Okay,
All right, we're open.
hold on. I gotta go back to my calendar.
She's trying to put you guys back on.
Okay. join their flag.
My nephew made that flagpole for my husband. We were very surprised, and then on Veterans Day they gave it to him.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. So that's, I love.
Recording
that's
in
on our
progress.
website right there is where that's at.
Are they on?
And then,
They are.
I see Holly.
Okay,
Oops.
is your phone off?
Peekaboo.
You don't hear 'em.
There you go.
Okay.
They're off your phone, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't see Scott.
I'm here.
Okay,
There he is.
you are.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, so we were on
as I
the,
was saying before, Holly so rudely cut me off.
Wait.
Sorry, Scott.
Next month I'll have the policy and the documents for putting delinquent accounts on the tax roll.
okay, and we've always done this in the past, there's a resolution for that. Whether it was a water bill or if they were delinquent on the assessment, on the bond, or sewer lights and hydrants.
Yep.
Customer shut off valve.
I have found that there's problems with people having issues with the distances between the shutoff valves and their pumps. One circumstance in particular, the pump is like 30 feet away from the cutoff valve, and a break happened in that line where the person was not able to turn their water off. It wound up running their bill up massively, and I want pumps put in that have the cutoff valves on the residential side, like I have at my properties and numerous people at their property on my street have, in order to prevent this from happening again. So the fact is we need to do what we need. I would like to have the pump replaced if we have a temporary or a updated pump that can be put in at 1410 Broadway. I would greatly appreciate it. I think the resident owner there would appreciate it too.
He definitely will, because I'm the owner.
So Lee, are you talking about the district side of the meter or the customer side?
Customer side of the meter, there's no turnoff valve.
Yeah, you can't do that. That's a gift of public funds. That's illegal.
So
It's
Scott,
the
I
customer's
got a question.
responsibility to do it.
Well,
If the shut off that we have for our house is on by our porch by our house, right? And the break happens between that shut off and your shut off, and you call the water company, and the D1 operator shows up and doesn't shut your water off like you asked him to, you're responsible for that water. So I
Everything on your
so
side
I
of
can
the
get
meter,
into
you're responsible for.
so I can get into that water box and disconnect and put my own thing on there.
So you can arrange with the district to have a shut-off valve put on your side. You have to arrange it with the district to make sure you're not tampering with the district's meter, but you can do that, and that's totally fine, and that happens quite a
See,
bit.
I was told by district that I wasn't supposed to be in that box. We're not allowed to be in that box. So
Yeah, so
otherwise
you
I would have
can't
shut off
put
the water
it on your
myself
own.
and not costing me $200 extra on my bill. But
Yeah.
when I asked the D1 operator to do it, they refused to do it. And it's just, my whole yard was flooded for like 2 days until I fixed the problem.
Yeah, so the district can't put the shut-off valve on your side of the box.
Right, but when the district is telling you you can't get into that box and do it yourself, right? You can't get into the box, so you can't do it yourself. If you're not allowed in that box, how are you gonna put the shut off there?
So if you wanna put a shut-off valve on your side, just arrange it with the district, and they will, go out and
Okay,
you
but
can do that. and
Scott,
as long as
listen
it
to-
doesn't
Scott,
interfere
listen to
with
what
the
I'm telling
district's
you,
meter,
Scott.
that's fine.
Scott, listen to what I'm telling you. When the district said you can't be in that box, how am I gonna do it? When you're telling me to tell the district to get permission, but I already talked to the district and told I wasn't supposed to be in that box. How am I supposed to do that?
So
So-
just talk with Holly, and Holly will arrange it so you can get in there and you can put a shut-off valve on your side.
Now, why couldn't we have done that from the get-go instead of costing me extra money? Because I brought it to Colleen's attention, to the district's attention, I brought it to the D1 operator's attention, but no one was listening. So it cost me $200 and something extra because no one listened. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I hear what you're saying.
That's a problem.
And Scott, if I may, we're not allowed, why would I have a cutoff valve on my side along with numerous other neighbors on my street, on my pump, but we can't have them installed at other properties?
So the district can. I mean, the individual property owners can, but the district can. You can't spend public monies on private property.
So, well, it's our water feed to his property.
The property owners have.
And it stops at the meter. From the street to the meter.
So I
you're
was just
responsible
misinformed
for
by
it, and you can
by
spend
one of
money.
your board members. That's
The
what
meter
happened.
to the house is the property owner's sole responsibility.
Okay,
Yeah, I was just misinformed by your board member. That's what happened. If I was told this, we would have
Sorry
fixed the
that
problem.
happened, and, yeah, I understand it's unfortunate, I'm sorry it happened, but the district, if customers want to install shut-off valves, the district can work with customers to do that. We don't want customers doing it on their own, but they can certainly arrange with the district to have that done, but the district can't do it or pay for it.
well, Scott, if I may, how is it then I would have one and numerous other neighbors on my street would have one, but other people don't? Isn't that because the
I don't know.
They were installing.
I don't know when they were put in, who put them in, on what basis they put them in, I just don't know.
okay?
That's easy to fix.
Scott, do you wanna address that that's not only a district policy, but it's also a county requirement?
Yeah, it's state law, right? This is a state law issue. This isn't a New Kern CSD has made up this rule for itself. This is true across the state of California for every water agency.
And the reason being is so that when customers have a leak on their side of the meter, they can shut the water off without, because what happens if they can't get a hold of a district employee? And that's correct. They can't be in that box because if they ruin that meter, now they have to pay for a meter, they have to pay for district personnel to go out there, and that's why the shut-off valves are usually located. There's a concrete or a metal box around that meter with a traffic lid on it to protect that meter. The shut-off valve is usually located on the customer's side, just past that box.
I understand that, Pam, but that's the point, is he doesn't have that cutoff valve at the meter on the customer side. There is no turnoff valve for him, and he's
No.
not allowed to touch the street side
And I
one.
appreciate that, I understand that, Lee, but that's the customer's property, and they can locate their shut-off valve wherever they choose on their side of the property. So if he has one located on his house now, and he so chooses to put it next to the water box, he has that option. He can have he could have 500 shut-off valves. We don't care. We stop at the meter box.
Okay,
So the box, not the meter itself.
She
The
meant,
meter.
she meant the meter.
Well, the box is the district's property too.
Yes, you
But
could
you
put
can
the valve
open
right
it.
outside the box.
Right, like-
You gotta make a cavity there so you can get in.
So basically, right on the other side of your fence where the concrete is, which will not give us the right.
You could do it there, or you could do it on the other side of the meter. Like, you can open the box and turn it off.
Where that concrete square thing is.
Yeah.
Right on the outside, on the back side, is where some of them are located. Others are located
You
in
can do this,
people's
but you
yards
can't do
closer
that.
to the house.
You just can't mess with our meter and our valve.
Right, exactly. But
His problem
but like I
is
said,
this is like
before,
20
what I was
feet.
told was we can't even be in the box, so I couldn't even fix the problem. You see what I'm saying? And a certain board member told me such, couldn't be in that box. That's not our job to be in that box, we're not supposed to be in that box, right? So, I'm going off what a board member told
Pam,
me.
can you clarify the box, the meter box?
That's
Meter
we've
box
never
is
get
district
things looked at.
property.
That's right, the meter box is district property.
Okay, so.
But out,
I'm
so
right
not
outside the meter
saying
That's
box,
that.
supposed to shut the water
the
off.
backside, I understand.
If it was flowing for 2 days, that's a problem.
You get poor service.
Yeah. It's like the cell
Hopefully
service.
you can have better service than you do.
I hope. God bless.
my
decisions.
property, I'm not in this water district, like 3 months, have, my valve is also in the box. And the city valve is there and then the meter is in the middle. So I have to open the box to operate my valve. I don't know what the standard is in this district here.
So what you're
Someone
saying
has a
is
shut-off
that
valve inside
he
the
needs to get
box,
with Holly.
their side of the meter, we're not gonna fight about it.
Right, right.
Ideally, it should be just outside the concrete box. We're not gonna make a big deal about it if someone put it inside the box.
Thank you, appreciate that. That makes sense.
I have irrigation valves and you can put a box right next to a box, I guess.
Well, I got a couple boxes.
Yeah.
I got all that already in the yard. But it's
You
just
need to
work,
solve
it's,
some
cause it's
shut off your
concrete,
water.
it's concrete all the way through where that pipe was, right? So they covered it in concrete all the way through where the break is. We had to break it all out and get it all out just to fix the break. But my shut off was by the porch, and in between was the break. So there was no way to turn that water off. And when I asked the D1 operator, hey, shut it off, look, my yard's flooded, he left it on for 2 more days. Like, you know what I mean? That's just
No,
nuts.
water is scarce, we need to conserve it.
Yeah.
And also, we don't want to rack up their bill.
So just to
Exactly.
clarify and to bring this to an end, the fact is if you don't have a cutoff valve, hence as I do myself, a turnoff valve on the customer side already, you have to get with with Holly. You have to have service. The D1 go out, shut the water off, and you have to get your shut-off valve put in. Then the D1 operator has to come back out and turn the water back on.
You should get service
That
5 days.
that is how it should be
Okay.
done, yes.
Normally.
You don't want people messing with your meters.
Anything else?
I had a water line break and they came out Sunday. There was a new wells out there.
And let me just say, Lee, they don't wanna be messing with your meters either. Cause if that meter breaks, guess who the district is going after to have it replaced?
Oh, I won't. I wouldn't touch my meter. The fact is that it came to me off the street that this problem had developed, and I just wanted to bring resolution to it. So I did at my end what I could do to bring a quiet close to it, and I've been sitting on it for a month. I asked before the last meeting to have this particular question put on the agenda, and now it's been answered.
Okay.
We appreciate it, Scott.
Mistakes were done, let's learn from them.
Okay.
Move forward.
Yeah.
We're on reports. Scott,
Makes sense.
so
Correct.
does the general manager have a report for the board?
Yes.
Well, tear it up, girl.
Okay, so just let you know that I did pay Colleen White for her accrued hours of vacation. We hired a D1 operator, trainee, he's taken the class. His name is Martin.
Are we paying for the training?
Yes, we are.
I
And,
was told we weren't doing that.
oh,
Our president of our board told us we weren't gonna do that.
okay.
No,
I paid for El Dorado to get everything going as far as electronic billing and paying online, so that way nobody has to use all pay. They can go straight see their bill and pay their bill online. That's been paid for. That should start 6 to 7 weeks. Martin and I are gonna go through where we are going to verify each parcel, meter number, and if it's a vacant lot, we're gonna, bill accordingly to everybody's, like if they're commercial or residential, if it's being occupied, if it's not.
Count how many parcels there are.
And let's see. I have to meet on Saturday with Sidewinder. We're gonna go out and we're going to go out and do a quote for cameras to be put out at the wastewater yard. I had the sewer water and the truck removed on April 18th. Speedway came and got those. And Tony's been in the hospital, so I do have the city coming out, doing the wastewater. He's coming out 3 times a week until Tony comes back. And that is it. Oh wait, I think I have one more. Oh, I already told you that, so that we were paying for the D1 operators class. Okay, I'm done.
Alright, Pam?
Holly and myself met with Vince Vaughn's office yesterday regarding funding, to bring Will 4 online. We are supposed to be hearing back within the next 2 weeks. I have been applying for grants. I think I've applied for 4 of them. But the problem is because the district has no accounting records and no financial records, it's very difficult for the district to get a grant or any kind of funding to bring Well 4 online. So I'm also pursuing private funding if there's anybody that a business owner in the town that maybe wants to contribute to the fund, to do a donation. The district is open to an in-kind donation. We can give them a letter if they choose to donate money to Rehab Well 4. So I'm trying to pursue every avenue to get the funding for that well to bring it online.
Okay, very good. Scott, I think you're up next. I think Pam brought us up to speed.
Pardon?
Scott's up next. You're done, Pam.
I don't have a legal report tonight other than closed session and what we've already talked about.
Okay. Sewer committee has not met. We have a board member that's been sick. I did want to set up a water committee meeting. Again, board member is sick, but we do have some thoughts and a list and have gone through the well yard. So when that board member is feeling better, we'll get together and then we'll present it to the board and then we'll present it to the general manager who can give it to the D1 operator. Does the public have any comments on items that are not on the agenda? Go ahead.
So, when we did the vote for the fill in the seat, you mentioned we had 3 names up? I understand there was only 1 at that point?
At the point that Director Rogers was appointed, there was only 1 resume that came in.
It's weird, because I talked to you, I turned it in, you said you turned it in.
You did not turn in a resume.
I did.
You turned it into Holly.
I turned it in before that even, way before that. You turned 3 different resumes, and you're the one that told me to put them in. I have the messages from you telling me to be ready,
Alvin.
sending me the Brown Act the whole 9.
Alvin.
I mean, I have all the messages.
Alvin, so do I.
Okay, so you
Listen.
know what I'm talking about,
Alvin,
right?
that was for another seat. Then when this seat came up, you can have 2 elected and 2 appointed. Tom Thompson resigned.
So
That seat.
I was here for that meeting. And last I knew, we brought it up when you had to have a special election to seat that person. That was the last time I said about it. I have the message on my phone that shows you asking me if all 3 names were sent in, you saying yes.
Hey, that was for Tim Carroll's seat. And Colleen took the 2 resumes and yours. She was supposed to send all 3 in.
But I asked you if they were sent in.
She told me she sent them in. I didn't even find out that she hadn't even sent in the paperwork that Tim Carroll had quit until a month and a half after
So,
that,
just let me get this
which I
straight.
brought up to the attorney.
Just let me get this straight. You told me she did.
Because
Yes.
that's what she told me.
And not
Colleen
only-
had sent them all in. They were given to Colleen, not to me. I wasn't even on the board yet when Tim quit. So it wasn't given to me. It was given to Colleen. Colleen told me she sent them all in. That was for 10 seat. Then we had another opening. That was for Tom Thompson. So yes, you have to keep sending in your resume for each seat that comes available.
Last I knew it was in.
For Tim Carroll's seat, it was in, not for Tom Thompson's. When Tom Thompson's seat came up, we had already made Holly general manager. The only two resumes
I
that
know,
we
I've been
had.
here for every step of the way, you forget.
Actually, you missed a couple meetings.
I missed a couple, yes, but I've been here from getting rid of the first board all the way to now, I promise.
Okay,
I
so
got all
when
the
the two resumes were in, we had a choice. We made Holly general manager. There was one resume left. That was Chuck's, or Charles.
Which you told me he didn't even want to see.
Oh my God, I didn't know. I hadn't even talked to the man. How could I have said that
Then why
to
would you say that?
You're right. Why would I say that?
I don't know why you say that.
I didn't. I hadn't talked to him at all.
Listen, don't get mad, I'm just telling you the truth, I'm just saying it for what it is. You know I've been here for every step of the way, but yet
You've
you
missed
forget to
several
mention it,
meetings.
right?
You've missed several meetings.
Okay.
So
I won't
what
miss no
happened
more, I promise.
was she was appointed as general manager. It was voted on. A seat needed to be filled. There was only one resume in because this was the second round,
It's just
not
a little fun.
Tim Carroll's seat.
It's just a little fun. But it's okay, like I said, I got some things some people should see. That's all I know. That's the message. I'll turn off for everybody later.
All right.
Including for you,
Do
Scott.
the directors have any comments on any items that are not on the agenda?
Nope.
Okay, we have a closed session report or a closed session coming up. So Scott, there is nothing that we need to talk about on the adjudication. Scott?
I need some information from the district, but I can talk with Holly tomorrow.
Okay, so we do not need to go into closed door session.
No.
Okay. All right, meeting is adjourned at 8:10.